Hey everybody, this is Roy Kennedy and this is Design Space, where I talk about game design and my experience kind of with that, bringing that to life. So today I want to take an opportunity to talk about conventions. I feel like conventions are such a important part of like at least my game design process, and I definitely think it can help shortcut you in a lot of ways by getting your design out there into the wild. So there's so many different conventions people can go to. I mean, there's tons of Dice Tower conventions, which are great for playing games and meeting a bunch of different people to just play games with in general. If you want to play a bunch of different games and be able to learn more about like what games are hot in the industry, what games like are people playing out there, any of these conventions that are just about playing games are really fun. They're a little bit harder because there's not going to be very many publishers there or designers there, but there's a lot of people to play games with. You might be able to play your prototype a little bit, but you're not going to be able to like set it up and leave it out or anything like that. You're going to have to very much like just play it. But we do have things for games that are actually already going published to actually show those games off and have demo areas at a lot of our conventions as well. That's a part of like the program for the event and things like that. But there is Dice Tower events for that. Then also the big one, Gen Con. I just got back from Gen Con and there's so many opportunities as a designer at Gen Con for so many different areas. But Gen Con is really the biggest like premier board game tabletop event in North America. I know there is also Essen in Europe, and that's even more worldwide. So there's so many opportunities at these gigantic board game conventions. And then there's other things like Origins, which you can go to, which is going to be a little bit smaller, a little bit feels a little bit the same, but then has like more tournaments and stuff like that going on, and then just people playing around, having games and stuff like that. A smaller event hall that's not quite as busy and things like that. And then things like PAX Unplugged. One of the times that I pitched Last Light to people, I pitched PAX Unplugged. Pitched 3 publishers last night at PAX Unplugged, and that was an awesome experience. And it was really just reaching out to those publishers because of networking that I had made beforehand. I was able to talk to them and be like, hey, I have something that I think you'd like to check out. Maybe we can sit down, set up a time to be able to sit down and talk about it. And then there's also conventions like Unpub or any of these different conventions that are specifically about game design and game publishing, where there's tons of designers there trying to show each other their games and trying to get feedback and lots of playtesting. That could be super important. I did a Unpub event at Mace, which is actually a convention that was a convention as a whole, but then they had a small section that was just for unpublished games, and I had a lot of success like showing it off. Do note that a lot of designers, when they play your games, are going to think of your game very differently than the general public. Designers are going to be looking for ways to, I don't know, almost make their mark on the game or give you something that you really need to change, and you really just have to make sure that that still works for the every normal, average, everyday person. So do always take any feedback you get with a grain of salt overall, but it is still interesting to play with a ton of different people. So I just want to talk about working at conventions in general. Back when I first started doing board game media stuff and things like that, or trying to work with design and stuff, working at a booth is a great way to kind of like shortcut like your way into the industry. I worked at the Gray Fox Games booth and helped them demo what was it, like Seven Ronin or whatever back in the day, and did that all Gen Con. They ended up giving me a ticket to like for the convention, and ended up getting like an exhibitor badge so I could get in early and things like that, and then ended up helping. I think it was like my second Gen Con I ever went to. I ended up helping out at the Gray Fox booth. I've helped at the Plaid Hat booth. I've helped at Asmodee booths before. I've helped out in a bunch of different booths, and just being able to be there working with the publisher, being able to see a little bit behind the scenes of how the industry works, being able to show off a game, even though it's not a game that you design, being able to demo a game very well and show it off to people is not only going to help you with being able to teach your own games, but then also being able to pitch your games to people, because you're going to have a lot of experience playing games over and over again and learning how to hone teaching that game down to a fine edge, and you can carry that over to your own game designs and be able to make those even better. So yeah, definitely helping out at booths is huge. And then any of these conventions, there's huge opportunities for networking, whether it be with publishers, that as you're going around talking to different publishers, and as you're doing any networking, don't always think like, hey, what can I get out of this? Or hey, how can I turn this to help me? It needs to be a back and forth. Like just get excited and like talk to them about their games, learn more about stuff. Networking is about just being like, oh, hey, what do you guys do? Oh, I really enjoyed this stuff that you made and all these things. Oh, hey, what do you do? And then you can say, oh, I've been working on these things and doing all of this stuff. Networking is just a back and forth. And a lot of times it doesn't happen the first time you meet someone. Like becoming familiar, being a part of the scene, being a part of the industry, the more you're there, the more you're involved, the more the networking is just going to flow. And then there's tons of designers at these events as well. There's tons of people you can talk to and like glean information or glean like, oh, hey, I loved how you did that in this game. Like, what was your inspiration for that? Being able to talk to people and like learn from these designers. There's so many amazing designers who have been doing this for years, and being able to see them talk about their games and see them talk about their design like philosophies and building up relationships. I mean, there was tons of times where hanging out with lots of designers that kind of helped me like understand, okay, this is how this works, this is what they think about that. And then you also have like friends to like lean back on when it's like, hey, it's coming down to the wire. I have to sign my contract for this game. I don't know what a contract for a game is supposed to look like. Can you look this over for me and let me know if I'm missing anything? There's tons of different networking opportunities that you can get from just having friends in the industry, just being out there and like reaching out to people and knowing people even more. And then also there's a lot of board game media people at these events as well, being able to rub shoulders and talk to them and being able to like just interact with different board game media people is great as well, because they are kind of like the taste makers in the industry in a lot of ways. And like seeing like, oh, they really like this game. Oh, they really like that game. Oh, a bunch of people are really enjoying these games. Seeing what games people are like are going to help you a lot with your designs as well, just because it's like, oh, the industry is kind of trending this way. The board game media people are very on the cutting edge of like what is trending in the industry, what games are going to be good in the future, what games are going to be this or that. And they know a lot of games. So even if you're a designer and you've played a bunch of games, you probably haven't played as many games as the board game media content creator out there who is getting games sent to them, or they're just constantly looking for a new game to talk about on their podcast or on their show. And it can also have lots of opportunities for you to just not only be able to consume more of their content so you can learn more about board games, but you might have an opportunity to go on a show or go on a thing or be a part of some sort of content or take pictures with them or like be able to play games with them at some sort of thing. It's just awesome to be able to rub shoulders and have a lot of interactions with board game media as well. And then at a lot of these conventions, there are panels. Not only are there designer panels, which are great to go to because you can glean more information from different designers, there's panels about manufacturing, panels about just board game media, being excited about stuff like award shows and different like skits and different things. Just being able to be involved in different panels and different things in the industry just helps you immerse you more in what's going on in the hobby, and will help you learn kind of like what people are looking for in game design, what people are looking for the next big games. And the next thing here is playtesting. I mean, at a lot of conventions, there are opportunities for playtesting. I mean, when I first started working on Last Light, I had played it with a couple guys from my game group. I was like, okay, I'm gonna take it to Gen Con with me. And then I just set it up randomly on a table outside the BGG Hot Games room, which you probably shouldn't do. But it was kind of a different setup back then. This was like in 2017. But I just set it up in the way that it looked drew people in. So I had some random people being like, oh, I'll play, sure, why not? So I played it with people I had no clue who they were, and they sat down and played the game. And playing with people who don't know who you are and don't even necessarily know that you're the designer is like almost invaluable to you, because you can see their genuine reactions to the game. You can see when things are locking up or things aren't working, and different things like that. I ended up taking Last Light to a Plaid Hat meetup. There's a ton of publishers that are having playtesting sessions and meetings about their upcoming projects and all sorts of things. And if you're able to like network in a bunch of different ways, you can get invited to these sort of things or make your way to one of them. And I end up being like, hey, I have this game. I want you guys' feedback. Let me know what you guys think about it. If you think that there's any issues, I respect you guys' opinion. So just let me know if you see anything that I need to work on with this game. So put it on the table, played it with people, and it ended up like them being like, this is amazing. Like, this game looks really cool. It's really fun. Like, you need to pitch this to us. And sometimes if your game is good enough and you play test it with enough people and the word gets out about it a little bit, you'll have publishers coming to you asking you to show them the game for maybe picking it up and optioning it. So that is another thing, is being able to play test with people. And then pitching. Like, when you're going to these different conventions, you have opportunity to set up those pitch meetings. So a lot of times you can email beforehand if you have, and this is another reason why networking is huge, having some sort of existing relationship or existing knowledge of each other makes it so much easier than just a cold email to somebody who has no clue who you are. So if you're at a convention, either A, you can be like, oh, setting something up for the future, maybe at a future convention, or like, hey, they know who you are. So then when you email them, it's not a complete stranger and they kind of like, you have rapport with someone, you know? I mean, it's really hard for anybody to judge the character because these publishers get tons and tons of people wanting to show them games constantly all the time. If they don't have a face to go with the game or with the email, then it's not going to be nearly as effective. And just being able to get that out there. Sometimes you can also do like cold pitches or just like go up to someone. Make sure to have your elevator pitch honed to a T where it's like, hey, are you guys open to taking pictures? Do you guys, I don't know if you guys, what your guys lineup is looking like. Maybe you have a huge pipeline. Maybe you guys are looking for games to add to your roster, and be able to have that elevator pitch down. Like, hey, this is the reason the game is unique. This is the reason that the game is like gonna, I think would fit good with your brand. That's another reason why you need to research, know which games are going to be good. I made a tweet out recently like, hey, I have some game designs to look with, and Capstone Games hit me up, which I love Capstone Games. They make amazing stuff, but they very much want strategic Euro style games. That's their brand, you know. And I'm like, hey, most of my games, just to let you know, are very like thematic. There's combat going on, and I feel like your audience is not going to expect a Roy Cannaday game coming out of your publishing group. I would love to show you stuff, but also like knowing a company's brand is very important as well, because certain publishers are going to be way more reticent to take certain kinds of games. So know which publishers are going to be looking for the kind of game that you're making. And then releasing games at convention is huge. You know, as a designer, you get your game out there published, or maybe you had Kickstarter yourself, all sorts of crazy things. Being able to take that game to a convention and have its release at a convention is such a big deal, especially if it's a one like Gen Con or Essen, or even some smaller things like Origins and things like that, or even Dice Tower events. We've had games actually release at our Dice Tower events as well. Being able to have like, this is the con it's releasing at, having the crowds of people coming excited about your game for the first time is such a huge boon to your game's success. Once you're through all the manufacturing, through all the stuff, conventions are huge. I mean, you see people running for games at Gen Con, like trying to chase down and get the hot new games. And it's a really big opportunity because all these people that are going to Gen Con are the leaders of their game groups. They're the people out there playing with tons of people, and being able to get that game out there into the wild and into a bunch of people's hands, and then they're playing it with their game groups all over the world, ends up helping your game just succeed even more because more and more people are playing it. Games are kind of like a, I don't know, I don't really want to compare it to a virus, but they spread because once one group plays it, if people really enjoy the game, then it's like, oh, I should get a copy of that as well. And then people are just kind of spreading and playing games. Everybody wants more people to play games with. So being able to release your game at a big convention is a big deal, because then you're going to be able to have all of these people that are super hardcore in the hobby showing off your game to all of their friends and family. Anyway, this has been kind of a spiel. I just came back from Gen Con, so I'm super excited to talk about this. I was able to set up meetings and have some pitches with people and being able to do a lot of stuff. People came up to me asking me to sign a lot of boxes, and it's just so exciting just to have people excited about something that you've created. And hopefully you can continue to work through your stuff, through all of your problems, like playtesting, making sure your game is good enough to be able to start showing it to people, start pitching it to people. I just want to give you the encouragement out there that like, just educate yourself and just get out there and try to make your game better. Try to make your game that's something different and exciting for people, and get out there and just work hard and meet more people and network more people, and you will find success for your game. Anyway, I've been Roy Cannaday. Thank you so much for joining me here on another episode of Design Space. I know it's been a while since I've had one of these. I do want to thank Tom again for letting me talk about these Design Space stuff. It's just fun because I'm super passionate about game design. I'm super passionate about making fun things for other things, people to play. Anyway, thank you so much. I will see you guys on the next one.
Hey folks, thanks for watching another one of our videos. If you like our videos, if you like our channel, you would love to game with us at one of our conventions. Check out Dice Tower Cruise, Dice Tower East, and Dice Tower West. Fantastic conventions where we play games with wonderful people, a humongous library, and lots of other events and stuff. Also, don't forget to check out our channel, like and subscribe. I'm Tom Bassel.